Fantastic. Welcome along. First thing I'm going to do is share screen. So you should see the opening screen here. Give us a thumbs up if you can actually see that. Okay. Thank you very much, Mark. Thanks, Susie. Good night, Susie. By the way, nice to see you. Thank you very much, everyone. Going to carry straight on, if you like. And just to let you know, there's a few on tonight, so I can't see everyone on the screen, but wherever you are, very, very welcome. Thanks for taking your time out from your days, evenings, etc. Ian Gordon, my goodness me, good to see you. Okay, fantastic. So let's leap straight in. So welcome. I'm recording this, so if anyone's uncomfortable for that for whatever reason, come off of video. That's fine. I wouldn't normally kind of recommend that, but that will be the way around that. But what would be really cool is into the chat box just now. If you could put your who you are, your location, if you've got your LinkedIn URL. So I think this could be a great networking opportunity as well. If you've got that handy, by all means, put that into the chat. I'd be really interested to hear about this on LinkedIn, or was it Eventbrite or Instagram? It won't be Snapchat. I know that absolutely for certain. And your current confidence level, how you feel about yourself about presenting over video, which is different. Or maybe it isn't. Maybe you're all comfortable. If you're a 10 out of 10, don't know why you're here, but it would be really interesting just to see where everyone is at just a minute. In a nutshell, I'm Keith Rosell. I've been in corporate sales for 35 years, actually, and I've sold stuff from $45 in value, which is a monthly gym membership, right up to, excuse me, right up to 1.3 billion. And which was a software outsourcing deal. And I can tell you that the sales principles are pretty much the same, whatever you're selling. Some are more complex. Sometimes there's more people involved with one particular sale, not necessarily the biggest sales, but in general, the principles of selling are about the same. So I'm a sales trainer now. I'm also a visiting lecturer at Aston Business School, one of the top business schools in the world, certainly in the top 1%. And the reason I'm interested in video is because it takes me back a bit. Now, some of you over a certain age might remember a chap called Martin Lewis, not the money-saving expert in another Martin Lewis, CBE, who broke the story on Diana, used to read the news out on the BBC. And he was an expert at making you feel like when he was reading the news, he was reading it directly to you and nobody else. And you have this one-to-one relationship. And there is an amazing skill that goes with that. And I'm not suggesting I can hold a candle to Martin Lewis, but maybe there's a bit that can come out of this because we're going to be in lockdown and presenting over video, I'm afraid, for a long, long time. In fact, I would say I've baked it into my routine. We're just not going to meet face to face, even if we can, until we've had a Zoom, because I think it's a great opportunity to, A, be more productive. And for those of you that have worked with productivity through people, a fantastic program, productivity, is about everything you do and the way that you do it. Much more to it, of course, than that, but that's a great starting point. And so some presentation essentials. What I'm going to be covering is context, because I think there is a context. If it's just a one-to-one, if it's me and Sue, every respect, Sue, but if it's just me and you, Sue, on a weekly call, we are just going to, it's not quite as important as if we've got a client on the line, or the CEO of a company on the line, or Mrs. Rosell on the line. Frankly, if it's a VIP of sorts, then we want to give it extra care and extra attention. So there is a context that kind of goes with this. Some stuff that you need to do before the meeting. My career, some of you might be falling out of your chair when I talk about preparation or planning, but actually it's taken me 30 years to get to this point, but actually it's kind of important on occasion. Some stuff to do during the meeting and not to do during the meeting, and then wrapping up. And some of what we're not covering is meeting research, because we've all got kind of access to that. So it's going to be kind of important to that you do that of your own accord. How to have a good meeting, I'll reference that once or twice, but really there's plenty of stuff out there, and certainly on my YouTube channel there's a line I didn't think I'd be saying ever, but here we are. How to have a good meeting, and I cover that, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you'd like to afterwards. You're very welcome to. So the most often question I'm asked, regardless of video or otherwise, just in a general sales context, is how can I or my company stand out from the crowd? So there's a great phrase, can't remember who I got it from, but actually different is better than better. So better is a very subjective mark on occasions, but different is much easier to discern. It may well be the Vice Chancellor of Lancaster University that I got that from, but points of distinctiveness and about you, about the way you do things, even if it's just you as a management consultant, the way you are your own uniqueness, if you like, without getting too philosophical. And there is a way to make you and what you do and your message stand out from the crowd. And hopefully we're going to uncover a little bit of that during this session. And you're very welcome afterwards to access the recording as well. Okay, so the background was in video. If you remember a fantastic program from yesteryear called 24, which was Peter Sutherland, I think, and he played a character called Jack Bauer. He'd always send people to the telepresence room. Sometimes when Cisco paid them enough, they would call it the Cisco room, but effectively it looked like this. Excuse me. And it's an incredibly spooky, I would call it a meeting experience, where I had my, for Martin's company, I had my meeting with a guy in New York. I was in London. It was just me, it was him on a screen, and there was no drag when he moved around, 60 frames per second, and all of that. And it all added up to a suspension of disbelief. You actually felt like, that was the key, you actually felt like you were in the same room. And so part of the art of video meetings is to almost push the technology aside. And so it's just me and you, it's me and Susie, it's me and David, it's me and Ian talking one-to-one. You don't really feel the presence of anyone else. So Emma, rather, beg your pardon, glad to see you joined as well. So telepresence. Now Aviva, that are based in York, where I'm now based, paid a couple of $1 million for this about 12 years ago, and they would have, excuse me, they would have the CEO that was based in York, based in Norwich, other people based in Norwich and in Singapore, and they would all be able to meet, you can imagine, one of their offices per screen, and have a meeting experience where they could exchange ideas and all the rest of it. And we thought that the benefit of that was going to be saving money, better for the environment, and all of those things. Now, those are things that the economists would call incidental or spillover benefits. The real business benefit is that you can get stuff done quicker by jumping on a video call than you can by jumping on a plane to Singapore or even wherever it happens to be, or jumping in your car for 2 hours. If you can get together immediately on a video call and talk about stuff and present things in a way that allows you to do business quicker and more effectively, that's a beautiful thing. Okay, right, so think 24. So we call it a meeting experience because it feels like you're experiencing a proper in-person meeting without the sort of touchy-feely side of this. Some big clients that I had that you see up on the screen, and the fundamental requirement, the thing that made it possible was this. It was the absence of distractions. So it doesn't take much for a CEO, we found out, or whomever, to think, to heck with this, I'm getting on a plane and I'm gonna have a meeting with Simon in Singapore or whomever it happened to be. So it had to be reliable. It just had to work. You know what they're like. Just a regular video conferencing thing would not have delivered that kind of service. It took a high-grade video circuit. Fast forwarding 10, 12 years, here we are, where humanity has a need to meet over video. Not a line I trot out too often, but I still believe in that. And it's got to have the absence of distractions. And it's in that context that I ask you to be thinking about what we're talking about this evening. Okay, so going to go to the, actually we're going to go to polls and just kind of see if we can, yeah, which sort of setup do you have? So if you can have a look on the screen at the minute, do you have setup 1? Is that how you're working at the minute? Do you have setup 2 on the right hand side, or do you have setup 3? I'd be really grateful if you could just kind of put a number into the poll, and we'll just see where that gets to. Just give a few seconds. So most people going with 2, which is encouraging. That's kind of healthy. Some people going with 3, so we're going to get a view. This is anonymous, by the way, but it's a great way to get views of nostrils. And anytime you watch the 5 p.m. briefing from the PM, you can see plenty of that with journalists that haven't quite got the message yet. So I think we're up with that, but and a close second, which is image number 1. Traditional sort of desktop, and we're looking down slightly. And number 3, it would be the equivalent of looking right down like that. Now I'm imagining, if it's a regular meeting, that's not really a problem. Excuse me. But if it's anything other than that, then you might want to be thinking about that. Okay, brilliant. So now, for the first use of technology, I'm going to go with, so this is what we're trying to get across. So we're going to play a video now. Sue, give us a thumbs up if you can actually hear this coming across. Okay. Everything in life is a negotiation. Okay, we're not going to do that. We're going to move straight on. There you go. That's number 1 coming at you. Okay, right. So differentiating yourself is, this is a typical value stack developed by a guy called Sergio Zeman. Excuse me. Sergio, I had the great pleasure of privilege working with at EDS. He was formerly the CEO of PepsiCo, and he came up with the Zeman pyramid, hence the name. And he talks about the great majority of people that present to you and that that try selling to you are going to be in the bottom. Hence the biggest part of the pyramid. They're going to be me too. They're just going to rattle stuff off, and they're not going to be differentiated. And it's the only way you're going to make a choice out of anyone that doesn't differentiate themselves, doesn't take a genius, is almost certainly going to be price. Price is going to be very close, and that's what we're all trying to steer away from. You can get further up the stack by, here we go, there we go. You can get further up the stack by, notice the small d though in difference, in terms of just by making a few tweaks to what you're doing, perhaps being sharper on your messages. We're not going to get into that today, but just do sort of small things that will make you stand out. In the words of Colin Matthews, who used to run Heathrow, making every journey better. So we'll do something, we'll learn a bit from it, and we'll move it on. We'll just keep getting better. So it's evolution rather than revolution. But where you really want to get to is in the top box, which is preferred, where you've really made yourself stand out. You've got some, you come across in the way that is optimized. They get your messages. You've prepared what your messages are in advance, and somehow you're just going to come across as as more brilliant than the rest of the pack. That's the only way that I can sort of discern that. So, and that's part of making yourself more distinctive. Okay, right. So what are the successful components then? So there's you, which is your prep and your content. There's your environmentals, what's going on around you, your tech, and that's going to be a function of your mic, your camera, the network, your screen size, maybe everything you've got available to you in its component form that's going to make you deliver a great meeting experience or a less than great meeting experience. And of course, back to the absence of distractions so that your audience can focus completely on you and what you're saying, and importantly, your messages. Okay, brilliant. So I've tried building this slide, but this is not a how brilliant are my PowerPoint slides. This is trying to get a message across. Okay, so this is the one that most people sort of voted for, which is the desktop. So here's the functional elements. If Sue, would you mind letting that person through? These are the functional elements. We've got some lighting. So we're almost a director. So here's the importance of lighting. One second. So it's evening time. So obviously it's not like of light coming in from outside. But here's the importance of lighting. So if I switch it out, then it looks kind of ghostly. So getting the right balance of lighting using a daylight bulb, if you can do that. If you've got the budget, there are various lighting instruments that you can get from Amazon so that you can clearly see the face of the person presenting, the face of the, so that you can get all the non-verbal clues, if you like. Okay, so lighting, plenty of light, ideally both sides of the face, but certainly balanced as far as is possible. That's really, really important. Okay, there's a camera. Now on an iMac, as this is, the camera I think is top left, and so ideally it will be about the same height as your eyes. So if you're really, really tall, that's different. So it's a good thing to have a book to hand, and I find Adam Smith's theory of moral sentiments is just the right size. And just the right size to stick it under my laptop and raise it up a little bit. So I haven't done that on this occasion, but that's the stuff that you need to be thinking of. My laptop is approximately my eye height as it is. And that suspends disbelief. It's almost like you're not looking up my nostrils and I'm not looking up yours. We're almost having that one-to-one meeting experience there. What's next? Microphone. Right, if it goes dark, stay where you are and I'll log back in. But so the microphone. So I'm speaking normally at the minute. I've got an external mic because I'm on pick a number 3, 4 of these every day. Now, if I open it up just now and I go back to my normal microphone, you can probably hear a great deal of difference, and I know that's caused a problem. That's kind of the point. So if I plug my mic and everything else back in, just quite a bit of difference of mic quality now. Again, that is all about the presenting the experience and enhanced meeting experience of audio on the line. Hopefully we're back to the big screen again, and you can see, yeah, I can see now. Okay, right, so we've got lighting and we've got a mic, and now here's something I see happening an awful lot. So if you're using a mic on your laptop, you better check where it is, because I hear that all the time with people messing around, writing stuff which has got to be done and you can't really help. But often you can inadvertently cover up your microphone, and the audio, again, is one of those things that that says to the subconscious, oh, we're in a video meeting, it doesn't really matter, or it reduces the grade of the call. So keep your microphone uncovered at all times. Now, if you've got sort of wired headphones, as well as many people do, because they don't want to be listening on, be careful with your collars as well, because the microphone, unfortunately, is normally at collar height and it can drag, and it'll be like going like that all the time. Now, is this basic? Yes, but it's about mastering those basics really, really well. Okay, what's next? Your content. I can't do anything about your content. I'm going to assume that you've put everything into getting your content just right, so that the only two things that are happening in that meeting is you and the relationship with the person or people the other side of the screen, and your content and the thoughts that you are trying to get them to have, to influence, to persuade them as to your point of view. Okay, right, meridian diagram. Again, back to basics, but the point is even more raw on than it is face to face. So most of you will have seen a chart or a version thereof before, but out of all the words that I'm going to talk in this hour, only 7% only 7% of the meeting quality, the meeting experience, is the words themselves. Everything else will be what's called the non-verbal clues. 93% of the meeting will be non-verbal clues. Nothing about what I say, but maybe it's about my body language. Maybe it's that one thing that I'm doing on video, emphasizing the number one and holding my finger up at the same time to emphasize the point, where it's those two things. So you've got the audible element of the call, and you've got the visual element of the call as well, which is assisting in the understanding and the immersion of you in that meeting. So that's absolutely critical. Okay, brilliant. So, and then 55% is going to be down to body language again. Now, you can only see me up to here, so I can wave my arms around pretty much all I like, but I have to be really careful about doing that, because that can be distracting, and we're about the absence of distractions. Okay, so on video, here are the tips. You have to compensate for the fact that you're on video, and you're going to have to pay extra attention to those non-verbal clues to assist you in getting those messages across. So that's going to be the amplification, the overemphasis on raising your points if you're about to ask a question, or deepening your voice to drive home the point of delivering your message in a way that the audience are going to understand better than if you just kept your tone the same all the time, which is very hard to discern what point is being made and when. So you've got to get your vocal tonality. I do more stuff on this offline, so if you're interested in this, by all means, we can chat about that. And then your message yourself, it is your poke in the eye. What is your poke in the eye? And on a call, there can probably be a maximum of 2, maybe 3 pokes in the eye. Any more than that, they're all going to get lost. Any less than that, you won't have optimized the meeting. So if there's only 1 poke in the eye, okay, think about that. It better be a really good one. But if you've got 2 or maybe even 3, you stand a chance of having a really effective kind of meeting. Okay, right, what's next? We have got, right, let's do another poll, a live poll. Here we go. And we are going to do relaunch polling. Okay, and we are going to talk about, right, here we go. Right, what's most important? So you've got a choice here. What's going to be most important to you on the call? Is it going to be video, which is number 1, or is it going to be audio, or is it going to be your choice of virtual kind of background, just to make the power of 3 kind of choices? That's very interesting. So something like 2/3 of the group going for about 60% going for video is the most important. And just over a third, 38% going for audio is the most important. So now, I suppose the answer could also be it depends, but there's been plenty of research on this by a chap called Milton Chen some years ago, and there may be some more that's kind of up to date. But if you find yourself, and Sue and I, when we have our weekly calls, sometimes Zoom is not Zoom, it's everything in between Zoom. Sometimes we just have to switch video off and go to audio. You can still function, you can still have the meeting, save the day, whatever the phrase is, if you've still got audio. And if you lose video, or it breaks up, if the picture breaks up for whatever reason that might be, then the meeting can still happen. And so in my opinion, it's worth over investing in audio. So if working remotely, which I think is going to be the new DNA of the corporation, is working mainly remotely, sometimes from the office when you need to, but of the days of 5 days a week at the office, at least according to Alan Jope of Unilever, are behind us. We'll be working remotely at least some of the time. So in my estimation, audio is more important if you're going to choose between the two, between that and video. Ideally, you have both, and you have both in abundance, but that's where we are. Excuse me on that. Okay, right. So before your meeting, but still before the meeting. Right, 1 second. I'm going to stop sharing here. That's better. Right. So before the meeting, hopefully you can see. Well, it's not always good, but hopefully you can see me now. In your environment, look at your background. If you look at my background now, there's nothing moving for a start, and that really helps. It's reasonably well lit. You see a bookcase over that shoulder. You see a fan. In the old days when the sun shone, over that shoulder, but there's nothing moving. There's nothing to distract our attention. Some of you are going to have logos. I have made that purchase on a logo. And some people are going to have a background of the Golden Gate Bridge or the Hanging Gardens of Babylon or something like that. I mean, that's nice on a one-to-one with the family, and it's kind of cool for about 3 seconds. But then you're going to find out, try waving your hands around like that, and your system, just unless you've got a £10,000 laptop, you're just not going to cope with it. So don't do that, because it's going to be distracting. And when you have and think about your LinkedIn profile, actually, while we're talking about this, whatever you have in your background, does it add value, or is it a detractor, or is it what I hope mine is, at least neutral, so that it's not taking your attention? We can still focus on each other. Does it add value? So the Golden Gate Bridge, unless that actually is the view out behind you from your window, in which case, wow, that's great. It's probably going to be a detractor. It's going to break your attention from the person. You're going to be talking about something else than the content of your meeting or the meeting experience with that person. So in that context, it's a detractor. So some examples would be, I have got a background that I use with my family. I'm in York, so I have a picture of the Minster and all of that, and that's okay on family calls. But I found with other times with no-go, web hands was just a real detractor. So don't do that again, because it breaks the concentration. And also, if you are going to have a logo, perhaps it's a rolling up banner, something like that. Is all of your logo in view properly, or is your head blocking out most of it? Because your head needs to be a decent size on the screen for us to have this video relationship. So, the brand people would be pretty upset if you put your whole hand or your head in front of the brand and blocked it all off. And in the same way, that is true of That's true on a video call too. So if not, adjust accordingly. It makes it look like you don't care about your brand, which is the last place in the world that you want to be. Right. And are you giving the right message? That's even before you've said anything. Are you creating the right message? It's the equivalent of being sat in a reception, waiting for an interview, or waiting for the client to come and meet you to take you out to the conference room. It's that's the equivalency here. Okay, so, and also if we switch our video off, I'm just going to do this for a second, switch my video off. Have you preloaded your image? Again, to suspend disbelief, if you have to switch your video off, have you got a photo of yourself preloaded? So just think about that, just in case you ever kind of need to. Now, some people would say my preloaded image is better than one you're currently looking at. But anyway, these are all things to kind of think about to maintain your brand, your logo, your presence whilst you're still on the call. Okay. So the other things to think of, so that's your environment. And this is before the meeting has started. Notifications. So your laptop bit or Mac or whatever it's doing is going to have loads of notifications. Your mobile phone, I've got mine next to me, but it's all switched off. So if anyone hasn't got access to this call, unfortunately, I can't really help because my loyalty, my focus is on you guys that are here right now. So they're all off. Apps that you don't need to use during the call, switch them off. So that conserves a few things. That conserves bandwidth and it conserves CPU memory as well, so that your laptop can give everything to that video and audio experience. And the assumption, by the way, is that you're not going to get up halfway through the call and disappear off to make a cup of tea or something else, because you would not believe what I've seen when people people do that, because they can't see you, they feel you can't see them, which is which is us having games with our 18-month-old or 2-year-old. So I'm just going to stand up second, and I just want to prove that I am actually wearing trousers, because if you've seen Zoom's promotional video towards the end of that, with Susie was kind enough to share with me just this time last week. Someone forgets to do that. It's hilarious and all of the rest of it. But I mean, what a way to torpedo all that equity that you've built up over the last half an hour. So that was just my way of getting through the day. Okay, right. So what are we going to do? We're going to come off of yeah. Okay, right. So during the meeting, I'm going to share this a second. During the meeting, here we go, because there's some useful stuff on here, I hope. Right, this is all about what do you want the other people, if it's a panel, what do you want them to say, do, or agree as a result of you having this call? This is really vital. So it's ever so, now they're kind of raw questions. Are we just having a meeting? And if we are, that's fine, but really think about it, really make that time count. What do you want them to say, do, or agree as a result of having that call? And on the other side, no way of thinking about that is all meetings come down to this. This is a very machoistic way of looking at meetings. It's no surprise to know I got this from Canary Wharf, which is, as a result of having the meeting, what's the point of the meeting? So what's the impact of the problem or solution we're trying to bring to the table? And now what? Now what are we going to do about that? Is there any action? So that's in line with what do we want them to say, do, or agree. And if you fail to do those things, all you've had is tea and biscuits, which may be, that may be okay. But that's, if you're not careful, you don't manage it and wrap up your meeting properly with actions. Is this basic? Of course it's basic. That's kind of the point. You're going to miss an optimized meeting. That's kind of the point. Okay, so have a clear message. So, which looks, this message probably looks all right at first sight, but actually they're giving 180 degrees diametrically opposed opinions of what's going on. With the arrow saying turn right, but actually the word saying turn left. Many adverts are ambiguous. And so many sales messages also are not quite clear enough. You want to be very clear about what it is you're asking for, what you want them to say, do, or agree with or to. Okay, so again, part of having a meeting, West Midlands' finest said this: when you talk, you're only repeating what you already know, but if you listen, you might just learn something new. So, so communication skills are absolutely essential, especially when it comes to sales, influencing, persuading. I used to say that if you talk 10% and your prospect or your potential client talks 90%, that's about right. And actually, I don't really feel that that's the case. I think it's now probably a third to two-thirds, a third you talking, and when you talk, you are improving the silence. So you're saying something that's valuable, that's insightful. I can see Ian Gordon falling off his chair now because he's saying, "Did you know this when you worked for me?" But I actually did. But now I try to practice it an awful lot. And if you listen if you listen 90% of the time, you're not persuading or influencing. You're a counselor, and that's a very different meeting dynamic. All right. So the other thing, which I'm always the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I didn't get time to write in haircut, but I'm also feeling that at the minute. But Wi-Fi is up there as the risk to any meeting that's going on. And even if you've got the greatest MacBook ever invented, don't run your presentations on battery. Just don't do it, because there's too much. You're introducing unnecessary risk. And that's the way I feel about that. Okay, right. So, thoughts, pros and cons with this one. Now, if anyone wants to come off of mute and kind of give us a shout out, if you want to do that, you're very, very welcome to, as long as we don't get anarchy. But we can either do this or in chat if you prefer. Number one, are we thumbs up with that sort of imagery? Does that feel like a good one, or are we thumbs down with thumbs up? Okay, that's sound. Okay, now apart from the person, which I couldn't help because this is an all-in-one shot, what do we think about number two? And if we are comfortable with it, that's fine. If we're not comfortable with it, I'd love you to come forward either in the chat or off of mute if you want to tell us what you think might be distracting there. I think I heard someone come off of mute.
Very messy.
Sarah, you're absolutely right. Now, those of you can think back to 2009 would laugh if I said to you that was an MP with his expenses on his desk. Those are his expenses. I've mapped that out. So I don't know if he's got a duck house or a moat that he's going to have drained. But that just reminds me, I was fixated on this particular episode. It just took me back to that, and I had negative feelings. It didn't matter what that guy said. I was just going to feel less than enthusiastic about him. So for me, that was a detractor from anything you might say. Now, a lot of people will say that. You can say that about all politicians, and to an extent, you probably could. Go on the top right, which is Barry, I think Gardner. That seems to me, I'll just whiz through it. That seems to me okay. Nothing offensive. Good quality imagery. He's got some. It'd be interesting to see what books he's got behind him, but there's nothing moving. There's no mess. So Sarah's right on the money. There's no mess, but it's not really adding anything. The image in number number 5, I became bottom right, which you can't see because it's moved, but it's number 5, is the female there, which is fantastic. And it was really good audio because she got headphones on and all the rest of it. There was a little bit of clutter going on in the background, And because there's a door and a door handle, I was thinking to myself, I wonder if anyone's going to walk in or walk. Is there going to be? So it was an unhelpful sort of thought process. The one I want to bring your sort of attention to is number 4. I can't remember this guy's name, but he's the CEO of a music charity. I think it's a music charity. And so his background is, apart from the fact he's looking down, trying to get past that, his background is all to do with the music business. So it's actually enhancing his brand, what he's there for, what he's representing. And so perhaps that's a way that we can all think about what it is that we're doing. Can we have something in the background that's kind of enhancing, pleasing to look at, and again, a way of making us stand out from our opposition. Because if you're involved in whether it's obtaining research grants, whether it's pitching for business, whether it's whatever you're doing, you're creating an impression of yourself by default. Whatever you do, whether you need to make sure it's a good one as opposed to just okay. But sometimes creating a bad impression is better than just making an okay impression, because at least people are passionate and engaged with it. Anyway, okay, so that was kind of the point. Right, let's come off of excuse me.
Sorry, Keith, can I say something, please? It's really interesting what you showed us. In feng shui design, the last photo where you see the door, that's a big taboo in feng shui design. Hi everyone, I'm an interior designer. Because when I design the offices, I never design people sitting with their back towards the door. So instantly, you don't feel safe. So you will naturally distract us. So it's really interesting you mentioned that. And a gallery wall is such a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I'll send you that check afterwards. Brilliant. That was absolutely right. And although I have to say you've articulated, I just kind of felt intuitively that wasn't a good thing, but you've explained exactly why. So thank you for that. Okay, so during the meeting, the essential components, again, is you. It's your content, it's your environmentals. We just majored on that, but it felt it was worth majoring on. It's your presentation style, and are you poking in the eye with your messages? I've already done that. Okay, the risk register, as if we didn't know, is dogs. And I say dogs in particular is because dogs don't have to be in the room to be a distraction. Whereas if you've got a cat that's not in the room, but you can still hear it meowing, you've got a real problem going on. So, so the reason I picked about animals, and I used to, anyway, let's not get into that. But anyway, they can be real distractions. And sometimes you can't help it, but just be aware, how can you mitigate that risk? Children, young children, we've all seen that probably by now, and that was before pandemic with the ambassador of South Korea, and on a Skype call, and the child coming in behind them, nanny running in and dragging the child away. We've all seen that, and it's very humorous and all the rest of it, and it broke the internet at the time. But, do you want it to upset your job interview or your major presentation? I'd probably cut people a bit of slack because we live in anxious times. I probably would. But that's just me. Not everyone is as relaxed as I am. And then the technology, and there are multiple elements of risk that can really upset. Number one of which happened for me, but hopefully I glossed over it earlier on. Partners bringing cups of tea. So I was on the call, and you can't hear me, so I'll press on with this story. So I was on a call with the Bank of England a couple when we were in Birmingham, so it was about a year ago, just as we'd gone into lockdown, I think. And my wife came around the corner. I was on the receiving end, so I wasn't really talking or anything. And said, do you want a cup of tea? She came in with a cup of tea, but she was really quiet. And I said to her, "That's okay, darling, we're on mute." And put the cup of tea down, and she came over and did all this, gave me a big kiss on the cheek and all the rest of it, which was lovely. And I said to her, "Well, we're on mute, but the camera's still on," which was a great source of merriment to everyone else. And just the point of this is that there's a lot going on a call. You remember that you are on camera, so so just kind of bear that in mind. And she doesn't mind me telling that story. That's fine. And but if it's going to be a really important one, then you've got children in the house, multiple devices. If your TV is running HD, it's almost certainly burning a bit of Wi-Fi, unless it's plugged in. If you've got PS4s, if you've got mobile phones running off Wi-Fi, they all take a bit of Wi-Fi, so it's really critical. And my wife has a big job, and so during the day, if I'm running something really important, I'll try and work around her schedule so that we're not both on a video call at the same time. And just in case you're thinking, well, Keith, you type so and so, why don't you invest in a bigger broadband circuit? I live in York, and the broadband provision here is about as ancient as the city. So I think we're still dealing with lead cables. Righto. So when we're talking, actually I'm going to come off of share now, I think. There we go. Right. Okay. Right. So talking into the camera, so you're having that direct relationship. Distance from your screen, your head should be taken up about a third of the surface area of the screen if you're making a point. That's really important, so people can kind of see, should we say, the whites of your eyes. You're more likely, if I'm leaning all the way back, you automatically lose engagement with me. You can still see my face, but it's not quite as immersive as perhaps it is when I'm not bearing down, but I'm really leaning into the call and I'm making my point. So your head should fill up about a third of the surface area. Okay, amplify yourself. I've already talked about tonality. Amplify your overemphasize things to really drive that point home, and your tonality, that poke in the eye. So if you're only going to take three things away: video, audio, poke in the eye. Everything else subservient to that. And keeping your microphone clear of obstructions. That could be papers, that could be cables, because otherwise the audio will be substandard and it will break the immersiveness of that meeting. But as importantly, when you're not talking, you want to keep your mic muted. That's just good call discipline. Let me go through this. It's okay to look at who's speaking. So if I'm speaking to you, then I'm going to look into the camera lens. So I'm driving my point home. But if you're talking to me, all of a sudden, I'm going to look down at Richard Gadd, and I'm to see what he's saying. So I can see all of his non-verbal clues. I can read lips, Richard, so be careful. Not when you're doing that though. But that's okay to break that eye contact, so I can kind of see, and I'm getting the full communications process from him. Back when I'm talking, and it takes a bit of getting used to, but if I'm going to talk to Paul Spencer, a fantastic background that Paul Spencer has there, I don't know if that's virtual or that's for real, but that I'm going to be re-engaging, looking Paul directly in the eyes again to start building that immersion, that immersivity then for the meeting. And also, if you're on mute, and someone says something and you just need to come in for a second or so, you can press the space bar and it puts your microphone back on again. Say what you need to say, release the space bar, and it saves you looking for the button or whatever it happens to be. So that's just a hack if you like. And rather than talking over people, because you can get what's called an audio collision. Talking over people might work face to face. Politicians and radio presenters love that kind of stuff. They can talk over each other for minutes, it seems, which is really interesting. But if you're on a call and we're all talking over each other, we're both going to sound like Daleks. It's frustrating. Again, it breaks that immersivity again. So avoid that. So if someone's saying something which is, you know, kind of interesting, or you're agreeing with, just nod, thumbs up. You can even give a reaction via the reaction button, which I'm a bit too old to do that. But anyway, you can kind of do that. But you want to avoid that frustration point. That's the point. Okay, so do's: be in command of all your stuff. Take account of it. Use communications. Use silence. Now, is anyone familiar or aware of the power of silence as a communications tool? Give us a thumbs up if you kind of recognize that dynamic. Yeah, okay, now silence can be one of two things. It can either be incredibly powerful if you know what you're doing. If you don't really know what's going on, it can be absolutely terrifying. And so I'm not going to get into a sales pitch here, but there's something, sales pitching and sales communications, the use of silence as part of your communications tool set is incredibly important, incredibly powerful to be able to master for a call like this, or a one-to-one call. The use of silence, it can be absolutely transformative. Okay, right now, another quick sort of hack, and I did some interview prep with a client today, got a really important interview on Thursday. We talked about what do they do if they're, what do I do if I just get flummoxed, that sort of rabbit in the headlights kind of moment, of that, if you'll forgive my vernacular, the oh shit moment, which can happen with on client calls, where you're just kind of lost. Well, here's what I do. If I'm ever asked a question like that, and it can happen, I need a few seconds, I'll say to them, I'll say, you know, David, can you just give me about 10 seconds? And I lean back deliberately to break that immersivity. Everyone else on the call relaxes at that point because they can breathe a sigh of relief. I can gather my thoughts, and then I lean back in and I'll say a few words rather than the key of my message. I'll say a few words, get everyone hooked back into, again, that immersivity of the call, and then I'll deliver my response. The same could be had actually for an in-person meeting. It worked particularly well, for some reason, someone else will know the science, but it works particularly well in a video kind of meeting because you're more in control of the environment and what other people are being caused to think, I think. Okay, so you can lean back for effect. Don't lean back unconsciously. Always maintain that connection. Okay, so don't. Oh yeah, okay, well this goes for any kind of presentation, frankly, but don't be the person that says, I haven't seen these slides before. You know, big corporations are famed for this. They'll have someone come in and do a presentation. Please forgive me, before we even start, I haven't seen these slides before. Even if it happens to be true, just don't be that person. You know, get on, be professional, deliver your stuff. And then, so we've prepared for the meeting, we've had the meeting, we've delivered pokes in the eye, and now we're kind of closing off or wrapping up. And that's exactly what we do. We're going to, okay, right. So one other thing, if you get to video again, if you get to a video problem again, and you need to recover from that, and it can happen because, you know, children, IT, they can all really upset your presentations. Turn your camera off. And again, I tried that at the beginning of the meeting. You probably won't know that you're in trouble unless someone sends you a chat or talks to you and says, Keith, you've frozen or something like that. Reset your screen, take control. That's the point. Switch it off. Keep talking, keep your order, be professional, maintain your stuff, which is a polite way of saying something else. But if it gets to be a real problem, as it has done in our house, then consider a network extender. you can, that's TP-Link is a particular brand which we use, works for me, about 55 quid. And, you know, there's less chance of me having a heart attack now than there was 6 months ago when I got that. Fantastic. Has anyone ever had that sign? Your internet connection is unstable when you're giving a presentation. I mean, that is dicing with death for me. But we've all kind of been there. These are all lessons learned that I'm trying to get out on the table now. So stressed or flummoxed, lean back, 10 seconds, lean forward and answer your point. Move on. Do it really professionally, like you've rehearsed it, like it's been drilled into you. Take back control again. York Broadband, I've already mentioned that. Okay, brilliant. So I've wrapped up. And we are pretty much on the money. I've got 2 minutes left, so I'll just have your attention for 2 more minutes. You may or may not be really pleased to know I do more than just this. I do it for once a month. I give a free LinkedIn Brilliant Basics, I call it. And it does what it says on the tin. It's about helping, should we say, job seekers, people that have been made redundant that might be looking around for their next job, students that are having a hard time, maybe they're on the job market. We've got the worst youth unemployment rate for decades, excuse me. So it's mainly majoring on getting your LinkedIn profile so that you can make a difference, you can differentiate yourself. We're going to do that next Monday night, strategically timed to coincide with Corrie. For anyone that's in the UK, I can't think of a US equivalent, but anyway, so that's when it's timed for. You're very welcome to come to that. It is basic, but actually you'd be surprised what can come out of a basic one. You're very welcome to that. My next Sales Masterclass, which is a series of 7, starts on the 7th of April. The current one is fully subscribed. I only allow 8, which is 8 people to come on to that so we can maintain cohort integrity. There's an early bird going on until tomorrow night, and you can see more about that on Eventbrite. And again, if you've got any questions on that, then you can message me in that regard. So the takeaways from all of this is consider making an investment, not just your laptop, but in your HD camera and an external mic. Less than $100 will make you stand out. You can't buy it through me, but you can go anywhere. I can make some recommendations if you like, but that's not really my game. Less than $100 or about £75, then you can make yourself stand out even without saying, well, even without saying anything. By virtue of the fact it's audio, you will be saying something, but you can make yourself stand out even simply like that. Amplify yourself, overemphasize those words. Get in touch with your tonality, so to speak, and understand what points you're making and adjust your tonality accordingly when it makes sense and when you need to. Prioritize audio over video if you need to. Ideally, it will both be brilliant, but if you've got to choose one, then go for the audio until the internet connection stabilizes and then switch your video back on. If you're on camera, remember that you're on camera. You can become desensitized to it and you can get up and jump around and it's all terribly distracting. You've broken that link. So watch your body language. Lighting is vital. And so make sure that people can see your face, even mine. It's important to see it clearly, to see what the messages are that I'm trying to elicit. Don't cover the mic. Keep it uncovered. Don't cover it with papers, cables, whatever it happens to be. Drinks are probably okay. Food is definitely not okay. If it's just a one-to-one regular, you're probably okay. But if it's an important one with a client, prospect, food is not okay under any circumstances. If you're recording, ask permission first. And I record lots of my stuff, but it's always ask permission. And we've already said if anyone's uncomfortable with that, switch your camera off, then it'll be no problem. Okay, I've got an ebook which is free. If you want 7 top tips for Zoom calls, I probably deal with other stuff on how to have excellent meetings, and it's free if you subscribe to the YouTube Sales Marvel YouTube channel. I'm not going to leave time for questions if that's okay. If you want to email them in to me, by all means, you're welcome to do that. Keith@salesmarvel.co.uk. email them in. I'm happy to do a follow-up video to this if you can stand it anymore, but you can follow me on YouTube, my website, salesmarvel.co.uk, or on Eventbrite, see what other events are coming up. But until then, and there's details there, 1 minute over the top, so I do apologize. But anyway, we can get back to our evenings now. Thank you so much for all your time and attention. Okay, namaste. I'll send you all a link to this this recording on the off chance that I said anything of value, and then you can go back, kind of listen to it then. But it really has been great to see you everywhere, wherever you are as well. I'll look in the chat a little bit later on. If there's any questions, message me and I'll get you a return video, which I reserve the right to send to everyone, by the way, and we'll go from there. But until then, enjoy the rest of your evenings, afternoons and mornings. Take care, everyone, and stay safe. Thanks. Great to see you, Ian. Take care.
Thanks, Keith. Take care.
You are welcome.
Thanks, Keith. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, all the best. Very kind. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. And thanks for all your support earlier on today online. Susie, we'll catch up. I'll drop you a line. Sue, thank you for keeping me under control and doing chat. Don't know, come later. Mark, good to see you. Okay, that's it. We're about out of here.
See ya.
Stop that share. There we go. Yep. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye now.